JD Vance said Trump is the only world leader still supporting Israel. Netanyahu disagreed, and the ally he named wasn't a European capital or a Gulf state. It was India. Trump has called him effing crazy. Netanyahu calls it a close alliance. The boss comment, the ceasefire friction, the India pivot. Something is shifting between Washington and Jerusalem. Benjamin Netanyahu has pushed back against claims that Donald Trump is Israel's only ally left standing, and in doing so, put an unlikely name on the table: India. Speaking to Fox News, the Israeli Prime Minister rejected remarks made last month by US Vice President JD Vance, who had declared Trump the only world leader still sympathetic to Israel. Netanyahu disagreed, though carefully.
What was your reaction when you heard that?
First of all, I respect JD Vance. We have a very good relationship, but doesn't mean that I agree with everything that he says, and I have to point out this. Donald Trump is the greatest friend we ever had in the White House, and I stand by that completely.
Netanyahu did not stop there, pointing to what he called overwhelming engagement from Indian users on his own social media pages as further proof of goodwill.
Secondly, we have some other friends, like a small country called India. You know, it has 1.4 billion people, and boy, do we have a tremendous support there. Mm-hmm. You know, I have this Facebook thing, and I'm just flooded by the overwhelming support there, and we have many others.
Yet the Israeli Prime Minister was careful not to burn bridges with Washington. He still described Trump as the closest ally Israel has ever had in the White House, insisting the two leaders remain aligned on Iran, despite friction over last month's ceasefire deal between Washington and Tehran. That friction has been hard to ignore. Trump has, in recent weeks, called Netanyahu "f***ing crazy" and said he has no f***ing judgment. Remarks the Israeli leader brushed off as the kind of disagreement that exists within any close alliance. According to a book by New York Times journalists, Trump had earlier lashed out at Netanyahu over Gaza and said,
"Everybody's sick of you, Bibi. All the Jews are sick of you. Even the two Jews on this call are sick of you."
The tension resurfaced again on July the 4th, when Trump told Axios that Netanyahu knows who the boss is, adding that the two men get along very good. A meeting between them at the White House is now expected within weeks, likely once talks scheduled around the NATO summit in Turkey wrap up. Netanyahu, for his part, insists the disputes are cosmetic rather than structural. He maintains that Israel and the United States share not just interests, but values, and that this, more than any single leader's temperament, is what holds the relationship together. Still, his decision to name India, rather than any European capital or long-standing partner, as evidence of broader global support, has raised eyebrows. Analysts see it as an attempt to project independence from Washington at a moment when Israeli officials have voiced quiet frustration over the direction of the ceasefire deal with Iran. Whether that outreach to New Delhi reflects genuine strategic diversification or simply a rhetorical device aimed at Vance remains to be seen. What is clear is that Netanyahu, even while praising Trump publicly, is no longer content to be seen as having only one friend left in the world.
There is no doubt that this agreement is seen as very bad by the majority of the Israeli public. It will definitely damage Netanyahu's standing as somebody who is extremely skilled in both negotiations and relations with the Americans and security, because from both perspectives, things are not looking good. It's bad, but it's not a strategic disaster. The main test. It's far too early to say how this will affect him in the elections, but there is no doubt that as things stand right now, it's very bad for him. What I say, right? Okay, so I think that in the World Cup. Iran gets something it didn't have before the war, namely $24 billion. And America gets something that it did have before the war, which is the opening of the Straits. So really, it looks like a win for Iran from the Israeli perspective. He will be unable to sell this agreement to the Israeli public. The best that he can hope for is that they fail to reach an agreement and the war restarts to Israel's advantage in 60 days, or they reach an agreement that even Israelis will consider to be very good. But that's extremely unlikely because even in the best case scenario, Trump's only spoken about a nuclear deal, not one that includes Iran's conventional weapons production of particularly long-range missiles, which can, if there are enough of them, overwhelm Israel's defenses of its civilian population.
אני לא אסתיר מכם שאני הבעתי סקפטיות כללית לגבי טיב הסכם כלשהו עם איראן, אבל אמרתי שאם אכן יושג הסכם, אז הוא חייב לכלול את האלמנטים שהם חשובים מאוד מבחינתנו, מבחינת ישראל, לדעתי לא רק ישראל, זאת אומרת, זה לא רק הגרעין, זה גם הטילים הבליסטיים, זה גם השלוחים האיראנים.
In the next 60 days, the most controversial and difficult thing will be what goes on the front in Lebanon, because the Iranians want the ceasefire to include Hezbollah, and Israel wants to be free to respond with force to Hezbollah's military activities. And Donald Trump is pressuring Israel not to do that, and that would thereby give Iran indirect leverage over Israel. So if there are attempts by Hezbollah to attack Israel by sending missiles over, then I think we could see a crisis in US-Israeli relations, because the Americans will fear that an Israeli response would destroy the agreement with Iran. President Trump takes a transactional view of foreign policy. And so friends are friends for as long as it's in America's short-run interest for them to be friends. And this is different from the way that America has acted since the end of the Second World War. One of the reasons America stayed so long in Iraq and in Afghanistan is a sense of obligation to allies. Donald Trump doesn't feel that sense of obligation to allies.
Everybody,
And who would control
it's
it?
international waters. Nobody's going to control it. We're going to watch out.
I think their relations have always been determined by how they view their interests, both personal and their country's interests, and that will continue to be the case. So long as President Trump is fixed on reaching a nuclear agreement, and so long as Israel feels that the terms of that agreement or the breadth of that agreement is insufficient from its perspective in terms of Israeli security, there will be a lot of tension. However, Mr. Netanyahu doesn't have anywhere else to go. He's very unpopular throughout the world. America is by far Israel's strongest and most important and most reliable ally, and he will be constrained by those facts.